I knew something was off the moment I walked into that conference room and saw Ryan already sitting at the table, in my chair. Legs crossed, grinning like a kid who just got handed the keys to Daddy's sports car. The smugness was radioactive. He didn't even look nervous. No notebook, no pen, just sipping some green sludge from a $40 glass bottle like he'd earned a damn thing in his life. My stomach twisted before a single word was said, but I held my face steady. 14 years of swallowing crap prepared me well for this moment. Then came the throat clear. "Before we begin," Greg said. Greg, my boss, my mentor, the guy who once told me I'd be running the department by 40. "I'm proud to announce my nephew, Ryan, as our new VP of Accounts." No preamble, no thank you for your years of service. No explanation, just handed over the crown like it was a Christmas cookie. There was a pause, a long, aching silence where everyone in the room looked at me, then quickly away. A few eyes widened. One of the account execs even mouthed, "What?" under her breath like she couldn't believe it either. I didn't blink, didn't speak. I just nodded once like it was the weather we were reacting to, not betrayal. If you've been through a knife-in-the-back moment like that, you know the numbness. How it hits you, not in the chest, but behind the eyes. Cold. Clear. Like something in you just broke off and slid into place. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I looked at Ryan's overpriced loafers crossed neatly under the table and thought, he's going to drown in this job. And I was right. Before we go any further, I know 97% of you listen to stories like this without subscribing, but if you want more real corporate warfare, quiet revenge, and poetic justice, smash that like button and hit subscribe. It means a lot to our team and keeps stories like this rolling. All right, back to hell. I left the meeting before the slides even started, said I had a client check-in, which was true. I had several, all of them mine. All of them built on 15 years of blood, travel, and the kind of diplomacy that saves contracts when lawyers fail. But I didn't go to my desk. Not right away. I went to the storage closet off the hallway, the one no one touches, and pulled out a flash drive I'd hidden behind an old stack of onboarding manuals. See, 5 years ago, after I brought in our biggest account, a $90 million annual partner that practically saved the firm during Q4, Greg had made me a promise. "You're on track for VP," he said. But I wasn't stupid. I asked for it in writing. Not a promotion, but terms, conditions. A little clause slipped into the paperwork for my raise and expanded title. He signed it, thinking it meant nothing. I signed it, knowing it might mean everything. I slid the flash drive into my laptop, opened the folder labeled Promotions and Policies, scrolled past the standard HR fluff until I found the PDF. There, on page 7, beneath all the usual legalese, was Clause 8. I read it 3 times to make sure I remembered it correctly. In the event of a promotion being awarded to a related party over the qualifying candidate, this agreement renders all non-compete provisions void, and client origin rights revert to the originating employee in full. I sat back in my chair and smiled, the kind of smile you make when the storm finally hits the idiot who left the umbrella behind. They thought I'd roll over. They forgot who built this house. 5 years ago, I remember sitting across from Greg in his office, still sweating from the flight back from Minneapolis, my blouse wrinkled, makeup half worn off from a 3-day contract rescue that damn near gave me an ulcer. I'd just salvaged the tech firm's partnership, the one on the brink of walking with $90 million in annual spend. I walked them back from the edge, restructured the service terms overnight, and got them not only to stay, but to double their commitment. That deal alone covered payroll for half our department for 2 fiscal years. Greg was practically giddy. "I don't say this enough," he said, pouring 2 fingers of bourbon into a chipped office tumbler. "But you're the future of this team." I didn't drink. I just nodded and waited for the paper. He slid it across the desk, an offer to move me onto the VP track. Not a full promotion, but a structured path, title bump, budget authority, executive training stipends. But I wasn't green anymore. I'd seen promises vanish the moment someone's cousin graduated from Wharton. So I pulled out my own printout, a draft I'd written on the plane. Greg raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "An addendum," I said. "Just a little clause for clarity." He didn't even read it all the way, just laughed and said, "Sure. Hell, you earned it." He signed with the same Mont Blanc pen he always used when trying to seem generous. The ink barely dried before I scanned it, backed it up to 3 drives, and emailed a copy to my personal account with the subject line, Clause 8, confirmed. Back then, it felt like planting a seed in the dark. Now, it was a loaded weapon. Because today, right after that farce of a morning meeting, I returned to my desk, opened Outlook, and typed 3 words into the subject line of a new message. Clause 8. No body text. Just attached the PDF, the one with the signed clause, notarized and timestamped, and sent it directly to our internal legal alias and CC'd HR for good measure. I didn't need to explain anything. The clause spoke for itself. I'd barely sipped my coffee before the auto-reply came in. From Legala subject, RE, Clause 8. Body. Can we talk? I could practically hear the panic behind those 3 words. I imagined someone over there choking on their scone, scrolling through old contract archives, praying this was a bluff. But it wasn't. Clause 8 had always been real, buried in the footnotes, forgotten by everyone, except me. It voided my non-compete in full and, more importantly, gave me the unshakable right to reclaim any client I personally originated. Guess how many of our top-tier clients that applied to? All 3. The chessboard wasn't just moving, it was tipping. The moment I sent that email, I stopped being their employee. I became their biggest liability, and they had no idea how fast I could move once I was off their leash. HR booked the conference room like it was any other compliance follow-up. "Hey, can you pop in for a quick sync?" the message said, as if I didn't know exactly what was coming. I walked in cool, laptop tucked under my arm, and smiled at the 3 faces waiting for me. Dana from HR, lips pressed into a tight line like she was trying not to sweat through her blazer. Marcus from Legal, flipping nervously through a folder that clearly didn't have the document I'd already sent. And Greg, my boss, arms crossed, avoiding eye contact like I was the ex he'd just ghosted. "We just wanted to clarify a few things," Dana began, that customer service voice HR folks use right before someone's walked to the parking lot with a severance envelope. Marcus jumped in. "This Clause 8 thing, I mean, it's a nice try, but it's not really enforceable. It wasn't part of your formal employment contract, just a side memo. And even if it was, we'd need to validate." I didn't let him finish. I opened my laptop, clicked to the folder I'd labeled Insurance, and dragged the scanned PDF onto the screen. The real one. With Greg's chicken scratch signature, the company letterhead, a third-party witness acknowledgement, and, just for extra spice, a notary seal dated 5 years ago. The silence was beautiful, not dramatic. Just cold and clinical, like the room had lost power. Marcus leaned forward, his pupils actually dilated. "You had this notarized?" I didn't say a word, just turned the laptop slightly so they could all see it, then crossed my legs and waited. Greg finally broke. "Look, we're not saying it's meaningless, just that there's a process, and..." I cut him off with a single raised hand. "You're right. There is a process, and I've already started mine." That's when Dana lost her composure. Are you planning to resign?" I smiled, not kindly, not cruelly, just cleanly. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, I'm simply acknowledging my rights." Marcus exhaled through his nose like he'd just been hit with a freight truck. "If you exercise those rights, you understand, we'll need to escalate this internally." I closed my laptop gently. "Of course, I assumed you already had." I stood up, adjusted the cuff of my blazer, and nodded once to each of them. "Thanks for your time." And I walked out. Not just out of the room, out of the building. Through the glass lobby where the receptionist looked up with wide eyes. Down the concrete steps, and across the lot where Ryan's Tesla sat, parked diagonally across 2 spaces, like arrogance could be measured in square footage. People saw me leave. I know they did. One of the junior analysts whispered something behind her coffee mug. Another guy from finance glanced at his phone, then back at me, his eyes bouncing like he was watching a breaking news ticker. By the time I got to my car, the Slack pings had started. "Did you just quit? What's going on? Why is Greg in a closed door with legal?" But I didn't reply. I sat in the driver's seat, rolled down the window, and watched the front door of that building, the one I helped keep afloat for over a decade, swing shut behind me. No rage, no yelling, just a door closing on the dumbest decision they ever made. I waited until the sun dipped low enough to stain my kitchen in that burnt orange light that makes everything feel cinematic, even if your whole career just imploded over a nepotism stunt. I didn't pour wine, didn't touch the bourbon. This wasn't a toast. This was recon, and recon needs clarity. I sat down at my kitchen island, opened my laptop, and pulled up a contact I'd saved under a code name ever since legal made us stop storing client numbers on our phones. Cora, Legacy Ops. But I didn't need the name to remember her. Amanda Singh, COO of the second largest tech integrator on the East Coast, and my personal client for 11 years. I was there when they were still in Series C, when their founder was sleeping in a hammock behind the server racks. I'd helped her rebuild after a fire torched their first office, talked her down during a potential breach that turned out to be a DNS hiccup. We'd had more 3 a.m. crisis calls than I've had actual dates in the last decade. So yeah, she was the first one I called. It rang once. "Hey, stranger," she answered, voice sharp as ever, but I could hear the background hum of servers. She was still at work. "Amanda," I said, calm and steady. "Just letting you know, I'm no longer with the firm." Pause. A rustle. The sound of a desk chair swiveling. "They finally did it, huh?" she said. "Tell me it was something dramatic. Tell me you threw a chair." I laughed once. "No chairs, just a clause." Another pause. Then, "Good. I was hoping this day would come." "I'm not starting a war," I said. "But if you ever need discrete strategy help, I'm available." "Let me stop you right there," she replied. "We've been waiting for this. I'll have our GC draw up a consulting agreement. Same budget, fewer middlemen. You available for a call tomorrow?" It took me a full breath to process it. Not because I was surprised. Amanda always saw through the corporate sheen, but because hearing it said out loud made the next step real. I wasn't falling. I was pivoting. "Tomorrow works," I said. "I'll send a calendar." By the time I closed the laptop, I already had a to-do list forming in my head. Register the LLC, draft a basic retainer, book a consultation with an IP lawyer just in case. I didn't even wait for morning. I filed the LLC that night under the name Clarity North, a callback to the first slide deck I ever made for Amanda's team. The one she said actually made sense for once. By 2 a.m., the welcome email came through. State of New York. Entity confirmed. Within 48 hours, Amanda signed the retainer, sent it from her personal inbox with a single line in the message. "Let's build something better. Together." I stared at those words longer than I should have. Not because I was emotional, I'd run dry on that years ago, but because for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt it. Affirmation. Not from a promotion, not from a plaque or a title or Greg's recycled compliments, but from the one person who actually mattered, the client. The one who'd seen the work, trusted it, followed it. And now, she was following me. The call was supposed to be a formality, a get-to-know-you touchpoint with one of our legacy accounts. A mid-cap retail conglomerate that spends low 8 figures annually and expects nothing less than absolute fluency in their chaos. Normally, I'd lead that call with 3 pre-reads, a heat map of seasonal pivots, and a background briefing on everyone who'd be in the virtual room, including which CFOs had gotten divorced and which ones secretly played golf together. That's what it took to keep them stable. But this time, it was Ryan, freshly minted VP, freshly washed hair, and from what I heard, freshly clueless. I wasn't on the call, obviously, but my phone lit up like a firecracker 15 minutes after it ended. Slack messages, missed calls, even a WhatsApp ping from an intern who left last quarter. "Are you watching this unfold?" I didn't need to. The aftermath painted the picture clear enough. Apparently, Ryan opened with a cringe-inducing, "Hey everyone, stoked to vibe with you today," before launching into a pitch deck he hadn't even proofed. He mispronounced the name of the client's European division, quoted their quarterly spend as $64 million-ish, which is something no client spending $89.7 million wants to hear. Then, cherry on top, he referred to their CFO, Jennifer Glass, as Jessica Glover, a name that doesn't exist in their org chart, or frankly, anywhere in the company. I heard someone on the client side actually turned off their camera mid-sentence. Another VP texted one of our senior analysts, asking, "Is there someone else who can handle this relationship?" Internally, the team was scrambling. One account manager, a guy I trained personally, apparently started digging up old notes I'd left in our CRM system and quietly fed them to Ryan mid-call through Slack. Ryan, in all his genius, read one of them out loud verbatim, including a section header that said, "Do not say this verbatim." It was glorious, and I didn't have to say a word. Instead, I sat on my couch, laptop open to the draft client portal I was building for Clarity North, and let the notifications roll in like applause from an audience I never had to play to. By noon, 3 former co-workers had messaged me the same question, just phrased differently. You building a team yet? Any room at your new place? Please tell me you're hiring. I wasn't surprised. When the ship starts taking water, the ones who know where the lifeboats are always try to swim early, but I wasn't ready to open the doors yet. Not officially. Then, mid-afternoon, came the second call. Private number, no voicemail, just a direct ring. I picked up, and a deep voice cleared his throat. Is this the same woman who used to run our analytics modeling at the firm? I didn't answer right away. It's Scott Varela, he added, from Turn Logistics. That woke me up. Turn was our second largest account, over $150 million in long-haul freight contracts, seasonal automation consulting, and 3 years of staggered AI integration builds. I'd brought them in through a connection I made during a supply chain summit in Phoenix. I was the only one who ever touched their portfolio. You got a minute? He asked. Because we're getting radio silence over here. Or worse, noise. We don't want to say anything formal yet, but if you're available, even unofficially, we'd rather work with someone who understands our roadmap. I sat back and let that hang in the air. Unofficially, I repeated. For now, he said, unless you're planning something more official. My smile came slow, steady. I didn't gloat, didn't rush, just answered with the same composure I'd carried out of the building. Let's talk. The CEO's name lit up my phone like a ghost from a life I'd already buried. I let it ring twice before answering. Not out of spite, just posture. Let him sit in it for a second. Let him wonder if I was going to ignore him the same way he ignored every red flag about Ryan, every warning email I ever sent about the fragility of our top accounts, every conversation where I said calmly that succession planning wasn't about bloodlines. It was about backbone. Alex, he said, breath short, voice thin. Not the smooth, polished tone he used at quarterly earnings calls. This was raw, rushed. He was somewhere windy, probably still in Cabo, and judging by the echo, pacing barefoot on tile. I just got off a call with legal. I didn't respond, just waited. They said you invoked some clause, something buried in your promotion packet. I could hear him fiddling with his AirPods. He was unraveling. You said this clause was buried, he snapped. But that wasn't directed at me. That was to someone else in the room with him. Probably Marcus, sweating bullets on FaceTime. You said this clause was buried. A pause. Then Marcus's voice muffled. It was. We didn't think she'd remember it. I let that linger. Then I finally spoke. I didn't remember it. I never forgot it. Silence. He cleared his throat, shifted tone. Look, obviously things got a little messy. I think we both know you've been essential to our success. You've got history here, relationships. We value that. Let's work something out. His version of a peace offering, backed into a corner, trying to negotiate with the person holding the exit key and the client list. I leaned forward, resting my elbow on the table. I did work something out, I said. It's working beautifully. He tried to chuckle, the kind of fake laugh CEOs think smooths over implosions. Come on, Alex. No need to go nuclear. We're all adults here. Maybe we can bring you back in a partner capacity. Adjust comp, formalize your control over certain accounts. No hard feelings. I closed my laptop slowly, Let the silence sit like a loaded weapon. You picked a rookie over the architect, I said finally. You thought I'd be flattered to train him. I didn't even get a call, just a meeting invite. Look, he said, getting defensive now. It was Greg's call. I trusted him to handle the transition. And now, I replied, your clients are calling me. That shut him up. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped an octave. Less negotiation, more realization. If we lose turn, we're short for Q2 projections. You know that, right? Not my quarter, I said. Another silence. Then the real question, the one he didn't want to ask but had to. What do you want? There it was, the shift. I already have it, I said. And I meant it. I didn't need an apology. I didn't want my desk back. I wanted him to hear it, to really feel the weight of what they'd lost. Not because I'd sabotaged anything, but because I'd simply stopped holding the walls up. The call ended without fanfare. No deal, no threats, just quiet defeat on his end, and clarity on mine. He finally saw it, who actually held the power all along. The announcement came through a press release, not a phone call, not even a courtesy email. Just a crisp corporate statement posted to the logistics firm's investor portal around 7:42 a.m., titled Strategic Vendor Realignment. But anyone who'd worked in B2B for more than 10 minutes knew what that meant. The $200 million account I'd built, nurtured, saved more than once from the jaws of internal chaos, they were walking. I refreshed the page twice to make sure it was real, and then I just sat there, barefoot on my patio, coffee going cold beside me as the weight of it settled. They didn't name names, but they didn't have to. The clients knew, the vendors knew, and by 8:15, the firm knew. Because Greg called legal, legal called HR, and HR blew up Dana's inbox trying to figure out if I'd somehow breached something that no longer existed. Ryan, meanwhile, was apparently losing his mind. He'd been trying to reassure the team with an emergency all-hands the day before, according to a friend still on the inside. Told everyone this was a minor hiccup and accused certain external actors of corporate sabotage. A laughable stretch for a guy who thought EBITDA was a Scandinavian vacation spot. I heard he even called Amanda Singh personally, trying to rebuild trust. She hung up before he finished the second sentence. One of the analysts told me Ryan had started calling old interns, begging for account notes because Alex took all her stuff with her. Like I was some petty saboteur instead of the person who spent the last decade holding their reputation together with duct tape and all-nighters. But now the building was groaning under its own weight. Inside the firm, morale plummeted. People weren't just scared, they were embarrassed. They'd watched the top 3 clients walk in less than 10 days, all of them quietly following the one-person management thought was replaceable. Desks started going dark. Slack channels got quiet. Those mid-level managers who'd spent the last year parroting Ryan's culture reset nonsense suddenly remembered my birthday and started checking my LinkedIn for signs of life. So I gave them one, a post. Short, quiet, no gloating, just the new logo I'd commissioned for Clarity North, clean against a white background, with 6 words underneath it. Now accepting clients. Strategically, privately, quietly, no hashtags, no link, no CTA. By noon, it had 14,000 views and counting. Recruiters started pinging. Former coworkers messaged in code. Coffee sometime? Can I pick your brain? Hypothetically, if someone wanted to jump. And then the real whispers started. Industry chatter, group chats, rumors disguised as jokes. she didn't just walk. She walked with the whole top tier. They gave her the key to the vault and laughed when she locked the damn door behind her. I didn't comment, didn't respond, just watched it all roll downhill from the place I'd built with my own name on the lease, my own clients, my own rules. They wanted someone younger, cheaper, easier to control. What they got was a slow implosion, one signature at a time. The email came with the subject line, "Let's talk, executive realignment proposal." Cute. Like a breakup note pretending to be therapy. I opened it over breakfast, still in my robe, while my dog snored under the table. The PDF was slick, branded, looked like they'd spent more time on formatting than they ever did, listening to me when I warned them about Ryan's incompetence. They were offering me a seat back at the table. Not just any seat, Senior Vice President of Strategy, full authority over all client accounts, a dedicated analyst team, a private office on the 30th floor, and, this part actually made me laugh, double my original equity package. Pending client return, of course. That was the key phrase. They didn't want me back. They wanted the clients who left with me. They wanted Amanda. They wanted Scott. They wanted the logistics firm that dropped them like a bad date. They thought slapping a bigger title and fancier desk on the offer would hide the desperation bleeding through every line of that email. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I forwarded the email to my attorney and then dragged a fresh PDF into a new message. Subject: RE, Executive Realignment Proposal. Body: attached, Clarity North pricing structure. Feel free to reach out if you require services. Currently booking for Q4. The CEO called 30 minutes later, voice tight, clipped. No background noise this time. He wasn't in Cabo anymore. "You're charging us this?" he snapped. "Alex, come on, you can't charge us that." I smiled, stirred my coffee, let the silence do the work before replying. "I'm not charging you," I said, calm and clear. "I'm offering you the privilege of fixing your mistake, at market rate." He didn't have a comeback, just one of those deep, angry sighs that people use when they finally understand they're not in control anymore. I didn't slam the door in his face. I didn't even gloat. I simply explained that Clarity North doesn't do executive rehabs. We don't fix broken leadership. We don't rescue flailing legacy portfolios unless there's real alignment. And frankly, his firm wasn't built for that. Then I wished him a good fiscal year and ended the call. That afternoon, I signed 2 new hires. One was Jenna, the senior account manager who ran triage after every Ryan meltdown and had quietly built a Rolodex more powerful than legal's black book. The other was Marcus. Yes, that Marcus, who left legal not because he hated the firm, but because he saw where the wind was blowing and didn't want to be the last one holding the shredded playbook. They both signed within hours. We didn't do a champagne toast. We did something better. We sat down, looked at the stack of incoming inquiries, and built the infrastructure to handle them. Quiet, clean, professional. This wasn't revenge. This was evolution. The boardroom was quiet, not the reverent kind of quiet that comes with respect, but the brittle silence of something unraveling. The quarterly review had gone from slightly concerning to financial hemorrhage in the span of 2 weeks. Greg sat 2 seats from the head, chewing the inside of his cheek, like that might keep the numbers from saying what they were saying. Ryan's seat was empty. He hadn't been seen since the logistics press release dropped. No exit email. No resignation statement. Just a whispered rumor about a breakdown in his office and a silent HR escort out the side door. At the front of the room, legal was doing damage control dressed up as transparency. So, Clause 8, Marcus began, tugging at his collar, was part of a legacy side agreement, handwritten, not filed with the master HR database, but legally valid due to notarization and third-party witness. No one said a word. He glanced around, hands trembling slightly. It voided the non-compete entirely and, more critically, reverted all client origin rights back to the employee upon evidence of nepotism in promotional decisions. The CFO leaned forward. "And you're just telling us this now?" Marcus looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. "We thought it was symbolic. No one expected her to enforce it." Another exec muttered. "She walked out with 3 of our top 5 accounts. $80 million in projected revenue gone." 82, corrected someone from finance. The chairman just stared at the screen in front of him. Profit forecasts blinking red. Renewal rates plummeting. Every column bleeding down. Greg finally spoke. "Can we sue?" "No grounds," Marcus said, flat. "She acted within the limits of a binding clause we failed to void. Her new firm's filings are clean. The clients moved willingly. No solicitation traceable in writing." The room stayed frozen in that sour kind of silence, the one that comes right before someone gets fired, or the lights go off, or both. Cut to my office. It's not huge, not marble-floored or panoramic, but it's mine. Exposed brick, real plants, a door that closes, a door that opens, and a calendar that pings precisely at 9 a.m. I glance at it. 9 o'clock. Amanda Singh, 10 UR. Scott Varela, 11 UR, Turn Logistics Ops. 3 calls, 3 clients, the same 3 names I'd once been told weren't loyal to individuals. The same 3 clients who apparently didn't get that memo. The phone rings. I answer. "Clarity North, this is Alex." And before the conversation starts, before any budgets or timelines or renewals are discussed, I allow myself one final thought. Not bitter, not triumphant, just factual. I didn't break the rules. I just remembered the ones they forgot.